Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's Tuesday evening, 10/23/2012, 9:47 p.m. Central, and we're looking at a pretty a pretty clear night with no wind and a very bright moon. I had the moon filter in. I do not have a Barlow in right now, but I'm going to put some big time Barlows on tonight. And before I kind of give you a quick survey of this shadow line, I'm going to show you where we're going. First of all, that crater at the very top, and let me kind of top center, the large crater at the very top is called Plato Crater. And there's a very strange, there's a very strange looking, let's just zoom in real quick and see if we can see any inkling of this tubing, and I don't see it. We might try to revisit that with a Barlow later on. And let me adjust. We're getting a pretty good, a pretty bright moon tonight. And when that happens, what you got to do is be flexible on your controls, because take a look at the right side. It's kind of bright, but to bring out the details of the Alps and Eratosthenes crater, which is at the base of the Alps, you have to kind of, isn't that a beautiful picture, guys? Let me work that a little bit. By the way, my name is Bill Bryson, and I try to get out every night, but you know, the wind, the clouds, things like that kind of go bump in the night and affect your visibility. What you see centered exactly are what they call Montes Apenninus on the moon. Just like we have Alps in Switzerland, well, they have incredible mountain ranges, and the one most famous range is the what they call Mont Apennines, and I call them pretty simply the Alps. And this is a very, very spectacular image of, let's just zoom in a little bit and look at the defined shadow line, a defined shadow line along Montes Apenninus. And Apollo 15 landed, matter of fact, I'm going to center it. I'm not going to spend too much time. I've done this before. Apollo 15 was the first Apollo mission to have the space rover. And center, right there, in that little alcove of the mountains is where the Apollo 15 landed on the moon. And I've always wondered, how in the hell did they ever land Daredevil astronauts landing in that mountain range? And you can see that it is kind of treacherous. The Apollo 15 was the first one with the rover. But what I'm interested in, before I get all excited about this, we're going to concentrate on two craters tonight. Eratosthenes, which is kind of at the base of the Alps. See that large crater, which is pretty much centered now? That's Eratosthenes, and we got a real good shot at that. And I'm going to go down the shadow line just to kind of give you, see that bright kind of that moon filter. If I didn't have that moon filter in it, we wouldn't hardly be able to see it. I can see what's below that by turning turning the brightness down, but when you do that, then you lose kind of the shadow line, and I'm trying to show you the shadow line too. So we'll leave it up for right now. And if we go to the edge, and I'm going to show you where we're going with this thing. Centered right there is Clavis. Clavis is that crater that has 4 or 5 craters within it, kind of that look like a crescent. And that's a famous crater. But the one that really interests me, guys, and I've done on my website, if you haven't checked out my website, you need to go to www.billbryson, www.billbryson-astronomer.com. And if you go there, there's a crater that has a base, and I've done the work on this with Clementine, and I'm centering it right now. We're giving you a preview of things to come, because I'm going to put a pretty powerful Barlow on this thing. See that large crater that's kind of centered? That is Mortis crater, and there is a alien base on an alien base. What looks to me like an alien base in the center of that, it looks like a spaceport. There's no way other than I can say, and I've done this with the photos from Clementine, and I also have done this with the Google Earth photos, and they both look like a spaceport. And let me zoom in right now before I go down there with I'm fixing to put on this Barlow. And let's turn up the color a little bit and work the brightness down so you can see some of the color here. The Sea of Serenity is at the top. That's called Mare Serenitatis. And in the middle, what I call a line of demarcation, which is centered. And then below that, Mare Tranquillitatis, which is the Sea of Tranquility. And on the moon, this particular area seems to be most predominant for color. You can really see, and I'm going to zoom in now. You can really see the color difference, and you can see them even on the Clementine photos. And see, when I zoom into the line of demarcation, you can see the difference. And let me turn up the contrast a little bit. That kind of sometimes brings out the color. I hope you guys have been doing well. This is some spectacular imagery of the Alps, guys. Spectacular. I tell you what, though, let's get up close and personal. Let's get up close and personal with this thing. I'm going to go out there and put in a Barlow, a 2.5. We're going to go in as close as we can. I've never done this before. I'm kind of excited about it. First of all, I'm going to just put in my regular old 2.5 Televue Pyramid Barlow. And we're going to look at the Alps, and which is that mountain range that is centered right now, and Eratosthenes crater, which is the base crater at the kind of 9 o'clock position on the Alps. Then we're going to put in another Barlow on top of that, another Televue, a 3 times Barlow, which is going to put my power up to 5.5 times Barlow, and we're going to see what we can do with it. But hang loose. I'm going to put it on pause. We're going to put in a 2.5 Pyramid Barlow and get up close and personal with these Alps and that crater. And then later we're going to go down there and really look at that spaceport, that alien spaceport on the moon. Hang with me, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back, and I've got this 2.5 Barlow in, and you can see I do have a little on the bottom left corner, some uh, that has to do with me, the way I have it married up. But I'm not going to worry about that right now because we do have a spectacular picture of this Eratosthenes crater, probably the best one that we've ever done. And it's amazing when I marry the 2.5 Barlow in with the it's a teleview lens, and I marry it up with a panoptic lens. I don't even have to focus; it's already in focus. But I'm going to try to refocus this just a dab. See if I can do any better. And I'm going to zoom out, and that'll give you an idea of the way it is. But now I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to take a look at this thing. That's a pretty, you can see it coming in and going out of focus, but that's a really pretty good picture. Now I'm going to zoom in all the way. That's a quite remarkable picture. And let me do this. And look at the granularity to the left of that crater. I'm going to turn autofocus on just for grins and see what it does. It did kick in. You saw it move. So we're doing pretty good on the focus. And let's go into the Alps. I say this many times, but just picture yourself if you were a kid and you were watching this video for the first time, and you let your imagination soar. I mean, a kid, an adult, a man, a woman, this is high adventure, guys. Let me turn my rate down. I got it on 5. I want to turn it to 4. You know, when I move up and down, the closer I get. That's a remarkable picture, guys. That's a remarkable picture. I have 15 steps of zoom with this 2.5 Barlow on this lens with this camera. This is absolutely stunning. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move it over here because I'm going to really go for broke. And we're going to try to put a 3 times Barlow, another teleview. It should marry up and see what happens. Hang with me, guys. We're going to see if we can really get up close and personal. That's when the magic begins, if it works. It probably won't work, but we're going to give it a shot. Looking at the Alps. Okay, not very good, but I'm going to show you what I got anyhow. This thing looks like it's a foot long. I mean, my lenses is piggybacked up out there, and you can see that kind of at the bottom left. It would take quite an effort for me to get rid of that, but since I can see the image, I'm going to leave it just like it is, and let's see if we can just skirt along the Alp. I already attempted to focus it, and you can see the Alps. Let's go. We've got a little clouds coming in too. What I want to do is just, I think that's clouds coming. There's Eratosthenes, and let's just zoom in for what it's worth. .5 times Barlow right there, and not very clear. Okay, I'm going to take that 3 times Barlow out, and we're going to piggyback a 2 times and see what we can do with it. Hang with me, guys. I'm experimenting tonight. You're my guinea pigs. Okay, guys, we're back. And I decided I'm not going to mess with that too much because it's really hard to marry up Barlow's with lenses, and I'm a perfectionist and I like pretty good quality. I wanted to show you something. I know a couple of you guys and gals out there are getting this camera, and you're going to have to experiment with it and with lenses and different things. When I started this series this evening, I had a moon filter in there, and I took the moon filter out, and I wanted to show you something. If you take the defaults on the camera, the defaults on the camera are like that, and the defaults on the camera, there's not any color. That's because color is at about 10%, but if you crank up the color a little bit, or let me default, okay, and you crank up the color a little bit, you can see how it does bring out some of the color. And also if you turn the brightness down, so you have to fiddle with the controls a little bit to bring out the color. If you take the default settings, you'll never see it. And see how bright it is over there by the ferret? Just way bright, and even when you turn it all the way down, it's just overwhelming. But what I want to do now is I'm going to go back down, and isn't that really just a spectacular shot, guys? Look, I've got a lot of faults, you know. I don't try to overextend myself on some of these visuals, but some of the stuff I'm showing you is spectacular. And what I want to do now is I want to go down to where I was looking at before, that south of Plato, and the crater's name is or south of Clavis, and Clavis is the crater which has craters within the crater, and I'm going to zoom in for right now on it. It's kind of centered, and I have the 19 millimeter in right now without the moon filter because I wanted to show you guys what it did look like without the moon filter. That's Clavis centered. And at the 6 o'clock position is a crater called Mortis crater. And I think that in the center of Mortis crater is a space port, some kind of a space port. I did a thing on my website where I showed pictures of Clementine. You can actually see the layers where the spaceships can take off from within that port. It's just a really strange, doesn't look like a regular rock is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let me do this. Let me put in my 2.5 Barlow right now, and let's go in and look at this one a little bit closer. Hang with me, guys. Okay, again, I didn't do anything. I put that TeleVue PowerMate Barlow in there, and I didn't even adjust the focus, but I will right now. And there is Clavis, and let's just kind of focus it with Clavis in mind, and work the focus a little bit. By the way, if you want to kind of follow more of what in that's good, really good focusing. Really good focusing. Okay, now let's go down to the spaceport. Wouldn't it be neat if we saw something fly out of it? I haven't seen a UFO on the moon for about, well, it's been a couple weeks or more. See, it looks like a pile of rocks here. That crater, by the way, is 110 centered, 110 kilometers, and 110 kilometers is, let's see, oops. Over 124 miles wide. Let's give you another perspective on distance. See that crater that's centered, that smaller crater? Above, centered right there, that smaller crater is called Crystalius, a Cristatus crater. It's 48 kilometers, and 48 kilometers is about a little over 60, 62, 63 miles wide. So you can see that if you really get right down to the nitty gritty of it, see those little dots, those little craters to the right? Those are probably a mile, 2 miles wide. So we can see pretty close. Let's do this. Since we got this Barlow in, let's just kind of creep up the shadow line and see what we can see, guys. I'm still working on this this new computer, and I know it does have. Oh, look there. There's my needle ship centered. When I first started doing my thing with Moon Musings, I'm in the process of learning all the time, and one of the things that I saw was this what I called a needle ship. The crater, because I saw these videos from the sun with these real pointy ships, and I thought, well, that's a crashed needle ship. It's not a crash; it's a fault. It's a fault, and I could tell later on, if you look at it real close, you can see the shadow. One side is higher than the other side. It's a fault on the moon, but it kind of looks like a buccaneer's sword, or in my case, I thought it was a ship, a downed UFO. Of course, it was not. That ship, by the way, is in a crater called Rupes Recta, R-U-P-E-S Recta, and that larger crater at the edge to the right. I'll center it, just so you guys, some of you guys like to follow me and look at your moon map. See that crater centered? That is Thibet crater, T-H-E-B-I-T. But here's a situation where I'm learning all the time. Every time I go up here and look at the moon, I see something different. And I thought at first when I saw the boy, that's a ship. And I got all excited. But it's not a ship. It's just a fault. Okay, let's continue to go up our shadow line. By the way, there's a pyramid. Let's see if we can see that pyramid. There's a pyramid kind of to the left of that. Let's see if we can see it. No, I don't see it. Let's just go up the shadow line. And sometimes when I do this, I go back and look at these videos and I see things that I didn't see before. Every time I come up here on the moon, I'm in kind of a learning mode, and I'm learning things all the time. That's a strange looking crater. Look at that. Looks like some kind of a something debris field or something, because again, I have the 2.5 Barlow on there, so we're in there pretty close, and we're just creeping up the. It's really excellent. Oh, let's look over here to see the granularity on these mountains. Isn't that spectacular? With the color variation, that mountain range. There's Eratosthenes. Now this is a very good. See, when I put that 3 times Barlow in, it didn't do justice. I like to do high quality, and this is a very high quality image. And let's go back to the right and look at the shadow. My brother looked at this and he said, "Bill, that looks like a DNA strand, that thing right in the middle between the Alps and the Eratosthenes crater." It's not, it's just a mountain range. Look at the defined peaks on that mountain range. When I was a kid, I had a telescope, a Tasco 60 Parrot. I went out and one time I saw a mountain on the moon. I said, "Man, this is so cool." And ever since then, I've had this desire to look at the mountains on the moon. And if you're a little kid looking at my video, I hope this inspires you to get really interested in astronomy. Centered, exactly centered, is where the Apollo landed on the moon. And it was the Apollo 15 that landed on the moon. Every once in a while I try to show you these things. Oh, let's look at the see that large crater right there? That's Archimedes. That's a good look at that spectacular picture of Archimedes, guys. Very much in focus. And since we have Archimedes, centered, exactly centered, right there, centered in that that plane, as it were, is where Luna 2 landed in 1959, the first spacecraft ever to reach the moon, Luna 2 from Russia. It crashed on the surface as planned, real close to Archimedes. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Here's a crater that's one of my favorites, and we're winding this down. Centered is Aristillus crater. I call this the star crater. There's certain times during the year when the sun's just right and you look at this crater and it looks like a perfect star in the middle. It's a very strange phenomenon. And let's end this thing Look at those mountains. Look at the shadows, guys. I'm giving you some excellent video. High adventure for sure. And look at Plato. Look, isn't that something? Plato, that large crater right there. And there's some really strange things around Plato, guys. Pipes, all kinds of weird things. Let's back out and camp out on the mountains. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've learned something. And in the meantime, wishing you and yours clear skies, guys.